What if one of America's greatest triumphs was actually a historic blunder? What if a law meant to protect artists ended up crushing an entire industry? History is filled with decisions that seemed brilliant at the time, only to be revealed as colossal mistakes by the cold light of hindsight. Welcome back. Today is October 18th, a day that marks not one, but two of these ironic reversals. From a folly in the frozen north to a law that backfired spectacularly. This is Today in America's Greatest History Mistakes. Segment 1, Seward's Folly, the Alaska Purchase, 1867. Our first story begins with a ceremony on this day in 1867. The United States officially takes possession of a vast, frozen territory from the Russian Empire, Alaska. The price? A cool $7.2 million, about $125 million today. The public and the press went berserk. They called it Seward's Folly, Seward's Icebox, and Andrew Johnson's Polar Bear Garden. Why pay millions for a wasteland of ice? Secretary of State William Seward was ridiculed as a fool who had been duped by the Russians. So why was this a mistake? For decades, it seemed the critics were right. Alaska was a financial drain, offering little immediate return. The mistake wasn't the purchase itself. We all know about the gold and oil that came later. The mistake was the management and vision that followed. The U.S. government largely ignored its new territory and its people for generations. The indigenous populations, who had inhabited the land for thousands of years, were given no sovereignty in the deal. The U.S. failed to invest in or develop Alaska for decades, treating it as a forgotten backyard rather than a strategic asset. The folly wasn't the purchase. It was the decades of neglect that followed the signing on October 18th. A mistake of perception and neglect that eventually paid off. But our next October 18th mistake is a modern law with devastatingly unintended consequences. A classic case of the cure being worse than the disease. Segment 2. The law that killed an industry, the Shop Safe Act, 2020. Fast forward to 2020. On October 18th, the House Judiciary Committee advanced a groundbreaking bill as part of a larger antitrust package, the Shop Safe Act. Its goal was noble, to protect American consumers from counterfeit goods sold online. But the law was so poorly and broadly written that it didn't just target large-scale counterfeiters. It placed an impossible burden on small online platforms like Etsy, eBay, and even individual sellers. It threatened to hold them liable for any potentially infringing products sold on their platform unless they implemented an extreme, automated, and prohibitively expensive policing system. The mistake was creating a throw the baby out with the bathwater law. To avoid being sued into oblivion, platforms would have had to preemptively censor millions of legitimate small businesses and handmade creators. It would have crushed the very ecosystem of small-scale online entrepreneurship it claimed to protect. While the bill ultimately didn't pass, its advancement on October 18, 2020, represents a critical modern mistake. A failure to understand how technology and e-commerce actually work. It showed how well-intentioned legislation, crafted without nuance, can threaten to destroy the very thing it seeks to protect. Conclusion: the ironic twist. So, what's the thread connecting a frozen territory and an e-commerce bill? It's the law of unintended consequences and the failure of foresight. With Alaska, the mistake wasn't the purchase, but the failure to see its immediate value and properly integrate it, leading to decades of mockery. With the Shop Safe Act, the mistake was the failure to see how a blunt legal instrument would crush innovation and small businesses while trying to stop counterfeits. In both cases, the decision made on October 18th was based on a narrow perspective, either of ridicule or of overzealous protection, that failed to account for the complex real-world outcomes. What other seemingly good or bad decisions had massive unintended consequences? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you want to uncover more of history's fascinating blunders, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching.